So over the last many days, Pakistan has repeatedly been saying this will go nuclear. There will be nuclear consequences, and even made all these claims to America. But the message from India has been clear. We won't back down just because of the usual nuclear crying wolf. There'll be no blackmail, no victimhood, no threats that will deter India. And so Pakistan can resort to their nuke rhetoric as much as they want. It won't change India's response. Prime Minister Modi said this earlier. Today, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh also made it clear that nuclear blackmail will not work. But the Defence Minister also issued another very important statement that we want to focus here on Super 6. He said clearly that international borders like the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is essentially the global nuclear watchdog, should pull up Pakistan for repeatedly and rather carelessly raising the nuke bogey every chance they get. Listen first to what the Defence Minister said, and then we'll break down for you why there's a demand for international bodies to take note of Pakistan's nuclear sabre-rattling.
आज आतंकवाद के खिलाफ भारत की प्रतिज्ञा कितनी कठोर है, इसका पता इसी बात से चलता है कि हमने उनके न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल की भी परवाह नहीं की है। पूरी दुनिया ने देखा है कि कैसे गैर जिम्मेदाराना तरीके से पाकिस्तान द्वारा भारत को अनेक बार एटमी धमकियां दी गई हैं। आज श्रीनगर की धरती से मैं पूरी दुनिया के सामने यह सवाल उठाना चाहता हूं कि क्या ऐसे गैर जिम्मेदार और रोग नेशन के हाथों में परमाणु हथियार सुरक्षित हैं? मैं दुनिया के सामने यह सवाल खड़ा करना चाहता हूं। मैं मानता हूं कि पाकिस्तान के एटमी हथियारों को IAEA, इंटरनेशनल एटॉमिक एनर्जी एजेंसी की निगरानी में लिया जाना चाहिए। मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा और साफ तौर पर कहना चाहूंगा।
And let's play out for you what Prime Minister Modi said a few days ago, where he pulled up Pakistan over exactly this, over issuing nuclear threats, and made it very clear that that's not going to affect India's stand, that we won't be affected or moved by any of the comments that come in from Pakistan. Essentially, nuclear blackmail will not work. Listen into the Prime Minister.
कोई भी न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल भारत नहीं सहेगा। हम आतंक की सरपरस्त सरकार और आतंक के आकाओं को अलग अलग नहीं देखेंगे। दुनिया भी भारत के इस नए रूप को, इस नई व्यवस्था को समझते हुए ही आगे बढ़ रही है।
So while there's all of this talk that, there could be a hit on a nuclear site in Pakistan, it's not that simple. And of course, India has made it very clear that we didn't hit Kerana Hills, which is where allegedly all the nukes are stored. But let me explain to you how these nuclear sites are protected. They have multi-layered protection, as is the international norm. So they have hardened bunkers. So essentially, these are warheads that are being stored. They're kept in underground silos or sites, if you will, to withstand any conventional attack. So anything that hits over ground, it won't really affect these sites that are right underneath, beneath ground level, underground, kept there for safety reasons. There are physical barriers too. There are blast-proof doors, there are shock absorbers, all put as fail-safes again. So multiple steps that are taken, and this is essentially internationally recognized safety protocol. Also a radiation shield. So the warheads are encased in multiple layers. Even if there's a hit, there's a very small chance really of a leak, a radiation leak happening, because they're encased in multiple layers, so this thick essentially. And so for any leak to happen, it's virtually impossible. But what happens if a nuke storage site is actually hit? A couple of things you will immediately notice. There's something called the dirty bomb effect, which is that radioactive material could then be scattered in that entire area, particularly plutonium dust, which is toxic, that could spread. There is, of course, a radiological hazard. Despite the fact that there's no nuclear explosion, it doesn't work that if a missile hits one particular storage area, that means you've got a nuclear explosion. Not at all the case because of the steps I told you. So keeping that in mind, there will be some radiological hazard, yes, but not the kind of impact you'd see with a nuclear attack. Very different, the two. Also contamination, and this is perhaps the biggest issue, that there will be invisible contamination happening because of radiation. Air, soil, water, all of that could get contaminated. Nearby areas could become uninhabitable as well. Now, the reason we put the spotlight on all of this is because you've had Pakistan going ahead and now claiming that India has been the aggressor as far as nukes go. You've not seen any of this actually happen in Pakistan. So we'll be getting you those details also about how Pakistan's been fact-check of all their claims of their nuke storage being hit. And let's also break down for you our nuclear strategy. What is India's nuclear strategy? When do we actually deploy nukes versus Pakistan? Again, here you'll see that Pakistan is the aggressor in the sense that we have a very clear mandated policy put in place of no first use. Pakistan has no such rules. They have rejected the no first use policy. There are countries who vowed of no first use policy. Pakistan is not in that list, whereas we are. So what that also means is essentially we've ruled out completely, officially, that we will not use nukes first. No matter what, we will not strike first. Pakistan has a policy that very clearly says we have the option to strike first. So that first strike option is still very much available, which is why they've been resorting to all of the comments that they have been saying. As far as retaliation goes, however, India is very clear that if you hit us, we reserve the right to retaliate hard and retaliate in full measure. So that's very clear. Pakistan's stand here is very different because they have essentially the first strike or strike first option. They believe in early use to deter aggression. And here's where you see a clear difference in India's nuke strategy versus Pakistan's. It's because Pakistan constantly talks about, nukes, and they've been doing this for the last many weeks. And then you have their policy, which is about strike first, that India is saying world bodies should also take note. Sandeep Unitan is joining us live with more on this. Sandeep, you've of course seen all the reactions that have been coming in over the last many weeks from some of the most, highest officials in the Pakistan government talking about using nukes against India and whatnot. And that's why there's a growing chorus here in the country, in India, for international bodies also to take note. Even the United Nations, Sandeep, has been found wanting here.
Akshita, Pakistan's nuclear weapons are the only technological achievement they have achieved in 78 years of their existence as an independent nation. Now, while in the early years of Pakistan's existence from 71 to the 80s, it was about protecting the country from being further divided like what happened in 1971. It was essentially a means of ensuring national survival. But somewhere in the 90s, the generals who control the nuclear weapons program started using it for many other reasons. The biggest reason they used it for was for nuclear blackmail. They used the nuclear weapons to shield their conventional arsenal and, most importantly, their terrorism. The terrorism that they inflicted on India was protected by the shield of nuclear weapons, which means that we could not strike back at them conventionally for fear of them going nuclear. So they've always been rattling this nuclear saber for decades now, from the 80s to the 90s. And of course, after they became a declared nuclear weapons state after 98, this has been accelerated. So their entire game plan, their entire strategy is to show that they are irrational. They will use the nuclear weapon at the slightest provocation. And that is one way they've deterred India from using its conventional weapons. And more recently, they've also used nuclear weapons to tell the West that, we are too important to fail. If Pakistan breaks up, for instance, the jihadi elements will get hold of nuclear weapons, and they use that to extract concessions from the West, to get aid, to get military supplies, all of those things. So their nuclear weapons program is a very bizarre kind of, strategy for them to use it for many other reasons. And of course, recently, they've been stepping up their rhetoric of threatening to use nuclear weapons. And they did the most irrational thing a few days back, before our 10th May strike. They used ballistic missiles against India, Akshita, and they fired it at a number of locations. One, of course, at Sirsa, the airbase in Haryana. The Fateh 2 missile was used extremely irresponsible because no nuclear weapon state has fired a ballistic missile at another nuclear weapon state. And this Pakistan did. And it could have triggered off unimaginable consequences, because if we had something like a ready-to-launch alert state, it would have meant nuclear holocaust. But Pakistan has always been playing this role of a irrational actor, and which is why we struck so hard on the 10th of May to send out a message to them not to escalate the situation. We hit two of their key bases, Chaklala and Sargodha, which are very key to their nuclear weapons movements, air bases which they near where they store nuclear weapons. We claim not to have hit the actual sites, but we have sent out a very strong message to Pakistan to desist from nuclear blackmail, to desist from rattling the nuclear saber, as they've been doing for decades now. So I think Pakistan's entire strategy has been called out. And today, the defense minister's statements of Pakistan being an irresponsible power, unworthy of holding the nuclear weapons, and he's in fact gone a step ahead and pushed for the denuclearization of Pakistan. And this has been the government of India's stance as well, to paint Pakistan as a rogue nation with nuclear weapons, exactly the way North Korea is, Akshita.
You know, one is the rhetoric. The second is, as you pointed out, Sandeep, the provocations, almost waiting and itching for things to escalate. Both show you that Pakistan is not a responsible nation and they cannot responsibly handle nuclear weapons, which is the challenge here. And hopefully international bodies will see that too. Thanks very much, Sandeep, for joining us with your perspective on this. Now, another aspect of what we're seeing right now and the discourse that's been kicked off by Defense Minister Rajnath Singh is that you've got the nuclear watchdog, the IAEA, which I've been talking about, which is the International Atomic Energy Agency, confirming that there's been no radiation leak in Pakistan. This global nuke watchdog has confirmed in a statement to India today that there is no radiation leak in Pakistan, refuting claims that were made after Operation Sindhu. And these claims were made by Pakistan. They were claiming essentially that the nuclear facilities were hit by India. And so that's very clear that that didn't happen. And we here in India had repeatedly confirmed this. You had Air Marshal A.K. Bharti, the Director General of Air Operations, rejecting suggestions that India had hit Kerana Hills, highlighting that we'd only hit the Sargodha Air Base.
Social media, the Twitter is abuzz with the fact that we hit a site called Kerana Hills, which is supposed to be the nuclear storage facility. And there is a lot of rumors about Sargodha. There are foreign analysts who've mentioned that the Sargodha attack led to certain leaks. Is there a confirmation that we actually hit Kerana Hills, or we were careful of not to do any such thing? Thank you.
Thank you for telling us that Kerana Hill houses some nuclear installation. We did not know about it. Okay. And we've not hit Kerana Hills, whatever is there. Okay. I did not brief in my briefing yesterday. Thank you.
See, the military action from our side was entirely in the conventional domain. This was also made very clear in the defense briefing yesterday. There were some questions also which were asked. There were some reports, however, that Pakistan National Command Authority will meet on 10th May, which we saw, but this was later denied by them. Pakistan FM has himself denied the nuclear angle on record. So, Rishabh, that also answers your question. As you know, India has a firm stance that it will not give in to nuclear blackmail or allow cross-border terrorism to be conducted invoking it. In conversations with various countries, we have also cautioned that their subscribing to such scenarios could hurt them in their own region.
And let me bring in Pranay Upadhyaya of India Today Global on this broadcast. Pranay, take us through really what the International Atomic Energy Agency has said about Pakistan's claims that, there was a radiation leak because of India's strikes.
Pakistan has been creating this nuclear boogie for long. In fact, post-Op Sindhu strikes carried out by India, Pakistan has been flagging this issue that India has actually hit the Kerana Hills, which has been categorically denied by the DG Air Operations. Air Marshal A.K. Bharti. However, Pakistan has not only created, they wanted to create a hue and cry about India hitting a nuclear facility and thereby drawing the attention of the world community that India has taken an irresponsible step. However, this has been categorically countered by the Atomic Energy Agency, which is the topmost body for the atomic energy related agencies and nuclear monitoring. And the spokesperson for IAEA has categorically said that we haven't come across any leak, any nuclear radiation from the Pakistan's nuclear facility. So this is yet another counter, yet another, you can say, the fact check. Whatever Pakistan has been claiming post-Op Sindhu, and this is yet another expose of Pakistan's claim. This actually comes as a relief as well, and this is a clarification from the Atomic Energy Agency, which has actually clarified positions, because Pakistan and its diplomats and Pakistan and its experts are creating this hue and cry that India has carried out strikes on Sargodha, and not only Sargodha, India has actually hit Kerana Hills. So this clarification has come as a relief as well for the world community that all the Pakistani nuclear facilities are safe as far as the radiations are concerned. However, today, the point made by the Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is very important, that given the situation, given the conditions of the fragility of the Pakistan's establishment, given the connivance of the Pakistan's, the ruling community, the ruling establishment with the terror outfits, it actually makes Pakistan's nukes in a very irresponsible hands. And so
we'll see if the United Nations or the IAEA, for that matter, takes note. Thanks very much, Pranay, for joining us with those details. I'll just also put out the details of where really our strike occurred. This was the Sargodha Air Base, and how far away that is from the Kerana Hills, which is allegedly where essentially the nuke storage facility is of Pakistan. So you see that particular stretch there. Where we hit is right up there. That's the Musharraf Air Base in Sargodha. Right down is where the Kerana Hill is. It's close by, but there is about a 10-kilometer distance between the two areas. So no, there's no question of us having hit Kerana Hill. It's allegedly in this location that Pakistan stores its nukes. So they were concerned, but clearly India was sending out a message, and we are a responsible, mature country, which is why we wouldn't hit their nuclear sites. There was a clear on-record confirmation that we didn't hit Kerana Hill, and yet you had claims being made by Pakistan. Now, coming to an end. Okay, let's move on and also get you details of the weapons that were used by India. There was focus, of course, on the kamikaze drones used by India, which were made in India. It's called the Sky Striker suicide drone, and it's gained global attention after making its debut in Operation Sindhu. With a range of 100 kilometers and a payload capacity of 5 to 10 kgs, it offers high-precision strikes within 1 meter accuracy. The drone's small size, radar-absorbent material and silent operation makes it difficult to detect. We spoke to the men who made this particular drone and thereby helped our forces in conducting Operation Sindhu.
This is the drone that we are talking about, Sky Striker, and a Bangalore-based company has created this and largely been successful in the market. Let me introduce to the people who are behind this drone right now, Mr. Hariprasad, CEO, and Mr. Raghavendra, COO. Sir, firstly, tell us the idea behind this drone and the market for it. Everyone's been talking about Sky Striker and its capabilities.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good drone, very good loitering munition. And this is done in partnership with Elbit and Alpha Design. And, I think it's, as you probably saw already in a lot of information about this product, it's a, 100-kilometer range. And it has, it can take warheads up to 5 to 10 kgs. And has the ability to go up to, and then actually have a very highly precision attacks.
Mr. Raghavendra, take us through this drone, the working of it, and the main common man question is, can the radar not pick it up? When we are sending these drones, for example, away from our airspace, can the enemy nation or enemy anti-missile detectors, can this not pick it up?
Yeah, you put across a very valid question. It's, as our CEO said, it's a highly potent weapon. It's called as loitering munition. And the beauty of this is it is extremely small in size. What you can see is the 1:1 real size, and it's extremely small. and its RCS, what we call, radar cross-section, is very, very less. Radar cross-section is not the actual cross-section. It is the cross-section what radar can see. Yes. This has got a range of about 80 to 100 kilometers depending on the payload. And payload, 5 to 10 kg payload it can carry. So it is a loitering munition, beautiful design, and used world over.
And congratulations to the makers of that drone, making India so proud, helping our forces in Operation Sindhu. And the recent India-Pakistan flare-up essentially turned into a live battlefield for Make in India defense tech. From the BrahMos missile to Akash and Barak 8 missile defenses, Operation Sindhu showcased the precision of homegrown systems. Drones like the Sky Striker, which we just showed you, the Nagastra, has proved India's growing edge in modern warfare. A big win for the Atmanirbhar Bharat defense push. More details in our next report.
The four-day flare-up between India and Pakistan last week wasn't just a military skirmish, it became a real-world testbed for India's indigenously developed defense systems. As tensions escalated and cross-border attacks intensified, several Make in India weapons were deployed, offering a glimpse into how far India's domestic defense capabilities have come. Operation Sindhu demonstrated the precision and reliability of Made in India weapons, reinforcing the success of the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative in defense manufacturing.
इस ऑपरेशन के दौरान हमारे मेड इन इंडिया हथियारों की प्रामाणिकता सिद्ध हुई। आज दुनिया देख रही है 21वीं सदी के वॉरफेयर में मेड इन इंडिया डिफेंस इक्विपमेंट्स, इसका समय आ चुका है।
The missile, which is a household name now, is the BrahMos, a joint initiative of Russia and India. The missile is credited with disabling Pakistan terror camps and Air Force infrastructure. With the recent inauguration of a manufacturing facility in Lucknow, the BrahMos is now being built by the DRDO in 3 cities, which include Hyderabad and Thiruvananthapuram.
ब्रह्मोस मिसाइल क्या होती है, अभी आपने ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के अंदर इस मिसाइल के पराक्रम की एक झलक देखी होगी, और नहीं देखी होगी तो कम से कम पाकिस्तान वालों से पूछ लेना चाहिए कि ब्रह्मोस मिसाइल की ताकत क्या है।
The Akash surface-to-air missile system, deployed by both the Indian Army and Air Force along the Pakistan border, played a pivotal role in countering Pakistani drone incursions and aerial threats. The missile, with a range of 25 to 30 kilometers, is built by listed public sector companies Bharat Electronics and Bharat Dynamics. According to reports, Tata Advanced Systems and L&T also play a role in their production. The Akash Tir air defense system, developed by Bharat Electronics, integrated seamlessly with ground-based defenses, effectively thwarting Pakistan's air operations. The system is part of India's integrated defense grid, which also comprises the D4 anti-drone setup. D4 disables drones by jamming them and also via spoofing technologies and laser-based mechanism. Multiple DRDO labs are involved in this project. Another medium-range surface-to-air missile system used was the Barak 8, jointly developed by DRDO and Israel Aerospace Industries. It is now manufactured in India by Bharat Dynamics and by private sector companies Kalyani Rafale Advanced Systems and Tata Advanced Systems. Among frontline weaponized drones, the Sky Striker is being manufactured in India by a joint venture between Israel's Elbit System and Adani Group's Alpha Design Technologies. Nagpur-based Solar Industries and Bengaluru-based Z Motion make another weaponized drone, the Nagastra.
It's a 100-kilometer range, and it has it can take work warheads up to 5 to 10 kgs, and has the ability to go up to, and then actually have a very highly precision attacks. And that's one of its key strengths. It has a very high precision, up to a 1 meter precision. That's the quality of this product.
The Scalp EG cruise missile, though not indigenous, was complemented by India's homegrown radar and targeting systems, which ensured accurate strikes. India's defense production has exploded in the past few years, with defense exports rising by 12% in 2024-25 to nearly 24,000 crore rupees. Importantly, made in India arms and ammunition are finding a big market overseas, and analysts feel the success of these systems in Operation Sindhu will only boost their demand. Bureau Report, Business Today.
And the big breaking news that's coming in right now is the crackdown continuing against Turkey and Turkish firms after India today had confirmed that there was in fact a Turkish aviation firm that essentially controlled all services, ground services at airports, all the major airports in the country. No security clearance anymore for this Turkish firm. The firm we're referring to is Celebi Aviation Services. And now Aviation Minister Rajnath Singh has confirmed at this point that this is a security aspect, and so at this point all necessary steps will be taken.
This is a security aspect, and we are talking with the security agencies also, and it is there in the notice of us, and we'll see what decision needs to be taken. We are working it out. We are aware of whatever it is happening, and we will take a decision in the interest of the nation, and we are talking with the necessary people inside, internally also with the security agencies, and we'll take the necessary decision.
The Supreme Court has pulled up Madhya Pradesh Minister Vijay Shah over his below-the-belt disgusting remarks on Colonel Sophia Qureshi. The Supreme Court has strongly criticized the Madhya Pradesh minister for his comment where he's targeted Colonel Sophia Qureshi, who the entire nation is so proud of right now. The apex court, who in fact this minister had approached for relief, refused to stay the FIR filed against Vijay Shah as directed by the Madhya Pradesh High Court. The Chief Justice of India, B.R. Gavai, also pulled up the minister, questioning whether such remarks were even appropriate coming from a constitutional office bearer. Remember that this entire controversy stems from a video of Shah's speech that went viral, in which he referred to Colonel Qureshi as a sister of terrorists. And this remark has been widely condemned as objectionable and inflammatory. There's been outrage among the opposition, and yet no action taken against the Madhya Pradesh minister. He still remains a mantri in the Madhya Pradesh cabinet.
Colonel Sophia Qureshi, जिसने कि भारत सेना के प्रवक्ता के रूप में पूरे देश के लोगों को प्रभावित किया है, ऐसे महिला के खिलाफ जो अपशब्दों का प्रयोग किया है उसकी घोर निंदा होना चाहिए। और मैं हाई कोर्ट के माननीय न्यायाधीश महोदय को बधाई देता हूं जो उन्होंने सुमोटो उसको संज्ञान में लिया और उन पर FIR दर्ज करने के लिए आदेश दिए।
अब पूरा देश एक साथ खड़ा है, कांधे से कांधा मिलाकर हमारे वीर जवानों के साथ। उस वक्त इस तरह के बयानबाजी करके हेट स्पीच देकर आप क्या साबित करना? सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा कि हेट स्पीच की कोई माफी नहीं है। अब मैटर हाईकोर्ट ने सोमोटो उसका कल संज्ञान लिया। सोमोटो संज्ञान लेकर हाईकोर्ट ने कहा कि इनके खिलाफ फौरी तौर से FIR रजिस्टर किया जाए। उनके खिलाफ FIR भी रजिस्टर हो गया है। अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट के अंदर मैटर चल रहा है। बीजेपी को अपनी पार्टी के ऐसे नेताओं की जुबानों पर लगाम लगानी चाहिए और इनके खिलाफ कड़ी से कड़ी कार्रवाई करनी चाहिए।
So let's play out for you exactly what the Madhya Pradesh Minister Vijay Shah said about Colonel Sophia Qureshi. He later issued a clarification claiming his remarks were taken out of context, but judge for yourself what he said versus his clarification.
जिन्होंने हमारी बेटियों के सिंदूर उजाड़े थे वही कटे पिटे लोगों को हमने उन्हीं की बहन भेज करके उनकी ऐसी की तैसी करवाई। उन्होंने कपड़े उतार उतार के हमारे हिंदुओं को मारा और मोदी जी ने उनकी बहन को उनकी ऐसी की तैसी करने हमारे जहाज से उनके घर पे।
जो बयान आपने दिया है महू में, उसे लेकर के काफी विवाद हो रहा है। कहा जा रहा है कि आपने अपमान किया है।
देखिए, हम लोग मिलिट्री का और सोफिया बहन का अपमान का सोच भी नहीं सकते। हमारी बातों को और भावनाओं को तोड़ मरोड़ करके अगर कोई सोचता और देखता है तो उसकी बुद्धि को मैं प्रणाम करता हूँ। हमारी सगी बहन से ज़्यादा और जाति समाज से ऊपर उठ करके उन्होंने देश और समाज के लिए जो काम किया है उनको मैं सैल्यूट करता हूँ। और जो कुछ भी आतंकवादियों ने किया हमारे हिंदू बहनों के साथ, उनके माँ बहनों के सामने उनके कपड़े उतार कर जिस तरह गोली मारी गई, उसकी हम जितनी निंदा करें कम है। और वही बदला हमारी बहनों ने, जो अगर उस समाज की थी, उस समाज से ऊपर उठ के हमारी उन बहनों के सिंदूर का बदला लिया है। तो ऐसी सोफिया बहन के लिए हम सोच भी नहीं सकते। अगर उनको या किसी को भी मेरे उन बातों से कोई दुख हुआ हो तो मैं 10 बार क्षमा मांगता हूँ।
Okay, let me bring in Srishti Ojha, legal correspondent, for more details of what transpired in the Supreme Court. Srishti, you first had the Madhya Pradesh High Court pulling up this minister, and then the Supreme Court also making it very clear that his petition to quash the FIR against him will not be taken up. In fact, there were other petitions also filed in this regard, and the Supreme Court made it clear what their stand is on this issue.
Well, yes, Akshita, definitely the top court pulled up BJP Minister Vijay Shah for the statements that were made by him. We're talking about a petition that Vijay Shah has filed now before the Supreme Court, challenging the High Court direction to file an FIR against him. In fact, he also saw a stay on the said FIR from the Supreme Court. Now, the matter wasn't even listed today. A mentioning was made by his lawyer seeking an urgent hearing, an urgent listing of the case. At the outset, we saw the Chief Justice of India, B.R. Gavai, question what sort of statements has Vijay Shah made. The court also said that a person holding any constitutional office is expected to act responsibly. What kind of statements is he making? Is it even appropriate for a minister to make such statements? The court also highlighted the sensitive situation that the country is dealing with, that the country was dealing with when these statements were made. We saw Shah's counsel explain and say that he's already apologized. He's expressed remorse, and in fact, his statements were misunderstood and hyped by the media. She pressed for a stay today on the FIR and the further proceedings against Shah. However, no express stay, no interim stay was granted by the Supreme Court today. The court did mention that the matter will be listed tomorrow. Sorry.
Okay,
so it'll be crucial to see what will the court do tomorrow when the case is heard.
So let's see, Srishti, what really comes in. So far, the minister, despite the Supreme Court very clearly saying you should be apologizing for that comment, the minister hasn't apologized just yet. In fact, he remains a mantri. There's been no crackdown even by the BJP, by the Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister. Sticking to, in fact, what's been happening in the Supreme Court. Now, one of the big talking points of the last few months was an order that came in from the top court issuing a deadline to governors and the president for assent to bills. Now, President Murmu has raised big constitutional questions over this directive. In a rare and significant move, President Murmu has sought clarity from the Supreme Court over its authority to fix deadlines for constitutional authorities like the president and governors to grant assent to bills. President Murmu, invoking a seldom-used constitutional provision, has referred 14 pointed questions to the Apex Court, effectively challenging its jurisdiction in the matter. And among them is a central query. Can the Supreme Court direct the president or governors to act within a specific time frame? And there's no time frame given in the Constitution. Remember, the top court order had set a timeline for governors and the president to act on state legislation and action that sparked a major debate on the separation of powers. So let's tell you exactly what this letter is all about. Why did the president send off a letter to the Supreme Court? This comes because the top court a few months ago set a time frame for precedent guidelines for bills passed by Assembly. So essentially they said no pocket veto or absolute veto available to President under Article 201. So it's mandatory, according to the Supreme Court, for the President to make a choice between the two options available and then to go ahead and respond. the president should either grant assent or withhold assent to a bill. So they've said that you can't hold on to a bill forever, either let it pass or don't let it pass. Now, the bill constitutional authority can't exercise powers arbitrarily as well. And this was a strong comment that came in from the Supreme Court, where they essentially pulled up the governors as well as the president, saying that you can't go ahead and use your powers to hold on to these legislations, to these bills. The Supreme Court has said withholding assent under Article 201 to be accompanied by furnishing of reasons as to why it's being held back. And they said the time frame, that's the most important aspect here, where the Supreme Court said that a decision must be taken within 3 months. So they issued a deadline to the governors as well as the president. The top court said that if it goes beyond 3 months, reasons must be conveyed to the state directly. This was the verdict that came in on April 8th, based on which the president has said, when the constitution doesn't mention any sort of time frame, how can the top court go ahead and say it? Now, the timeline essentially that's been given is for the governors, where reserving bill for the president with aid and advice of Council of Ministers must happen within 1 month. Withholding assent without aid and advice of Council of Ministers means that they must return the bill in a matter of 3 months. All of this mandated by the Supreme Court. Now, a bill presented after reconsideration by State Assembly, then there has to be assent, and the assent must be given within 1 month. This is what the top court ruled, over which President Murmu has shot off questions now to the Supreme Court. All right, let's also talk about the Waqf Amendment Act. There's been huge controversy over it. It's also reached the Supreme Court. The Apex Court said it would hear the petitions challenging the validity, the constitutional validity of the Waqf Act on May 20th now, for the limited purpose of interim relief, where there are questions and demands to go ahead and hold the enactment of this particular law. A batch of petitions were filed before the top court challenging the validity of this law. The petitions majorly objected to 3 issues: Waqf by user, nomination of non-Muslims to the Waqf board, and identification of government land under Waqf. The central government, remember, had earlier told the Supreme Court that certain key provisions of the Waqf Amendment Act, including the formation of the Central Waqf Council, as well as denotifying properties already declared or registered as Waqf, will not be acted upon for the time being. And as I wrap up this edition of Super 6, as always, I get you a fact check of the day of claims being made on social media right now. There is right now a video doing the rounds claiming that people in Jammu and Kashmir are celebrating after India attacks Pakistan. That's not true. This video, in fact, is from Gujarat. That shows a celebration after a cricket victory. So this video essentially being used to mislead people. The fact is, it's from Gujarat. It's being shown as from Jammu and Kashmir. And the context, completely different. A reminder, as always, don't believe everything you see on social media. Thanks very much for tuning in.